Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the BI Breakdown. And today I have back with me Chris Kirkpatrick. Chris is an entrepreneur. He is an insurance agency owner, not just an agent. And he also is a content creator. He's a lot of things. He's a now a fund manager, and we're going to dive into all these different things. Chris, I appreciate you being back. I had to add in your new accolades there because you became more than what you were when we first met and first started talking. So it's super awesome. How I met you is the IUL guy. You're like the demon for you're like the evil inside the IUL camp or whatever.
Yep.
A little bit, and then you were telling me your background. You know, you're from regional director of Universal Life to being completely and totally against it because you got to see what was on the other side of that wall.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, man. So it's like I like talking with you because like I'm talking to an insider. And I like inside information. I like to know that kind of stuff. So man, welcome back. Thanks so much.
Thanks, man.
For being on the show, man.
I love it. I always love talking to you. I love talking about this stuff. I feel like if I could do interviews like this all day long, I'd be a happy guy. So it's gonna be fun.
Definitely do. And I appreciate it. Like I said, so tell me a little bit about your relocation to Dominican Republic. I noticed where you're at. You were telling me about it. How has that been transitioning for yourself, your family, and some of the differences that you immediately recognized when you got off that plane?
Oh, I mean, the differences are crazy, man. Like we didn't just move to the Dominican Republic. We moved to a remote part of the Dominican Republic that didn't even have electricity until 2011. So we're talking, we live in a little fishing village that's in the path of progress. It's in, like I say, progress. I mean, I would argue in a lot of ways it's going backwards, culturally, because you're bringing in all this new mainstream thought,
Western ideology,
westernization, which is sad to see in some ways. But at the same time, like when I say progress, I mean like things are happening, like roads are developing, infrastructure is being built, tourism is coming. The economy in the Dominican Republic is all based around tourism. Tourism is the economy, and so they've decided that this little part of the island is the next focal point for the government to invest for tourism. They're investing in roads, infrastructure, cruise ship ports, all these different things that are coming in and being built right now. So it's like, I feel like I live in a construction zone a little bit, because it's all going on. But we found this little boutique eco hotel that we're transitioning to becoming a retreat center. And I wasn't looking to move here, honestly. It just kind of happened. And it was one of those things where my wife and I, we were looking to invest with some of my partners. We were introduced to the idea of investing in some kind of like Airbnb bungalow villa style homes down here. And a friend, a colleague, a business partner kind of suggested that I check it out because I was not happy about any of the opportunities in the United States. Previously, my wife and I really believed in investing in the United States, in Atlanta and Phoenix and all these areas. And then when we kind of went back to it, we're looking at the cost of housing, the interest rates, the rental rates, and you look at the laws, the lack of cash flow, the uncertainty, just how much debt you have to use and how much risk comes along with taking that debt on. And so I was like, sure, I'll look at the Dominican. And I had a phone conversation with this guy. Actually, it was a Zoom meeting. And then literally it was kind of cool. And 3 days later, my wife and I were on a plane. We headed down to the DR to check it out and vet it out. And we invested in it, fell in love with the area, kept coming back and forth to check on the investment. And then before long, I was speaking at events and masterminds and things of that nature. And people were like, dude, I want to get involved. Like, I want to hear more about what you have going on. And there was really nothing formal behind it. I was just investing in some stuff with a couple partners, and it was just a little deal. But everybody was fascinated by it. And I was just like, whoa, what is that about? But I didn't know enough yet back when I first started to like be able to take any money on. And I'm not the guy that's going to put my life and my reputation and everything on the line for something that I viewed as it was right for me. It was in my risk profile, but it was totally speculative. Like I did not know anything I was doing really yet.
Yeah.
And there was no real formalized documentation around it all, right? Like we had to deal with it with our own taxes and our own stuff and whatever, but like there was no business formation around it to be able to allow anybody to get involved. And I didn't even know the first thing about getting that set up in the Dominican Republic. And so a lot of people were, telling me they wanted involvement. And then one of the guys was like, dude, you need to start a fund. You need to create a private equity fund, and you need to do it through that because you got too much interest. And if you start a fund, you'll help a lot of people solve a lot of problems because you have the ability to create all this cash flow. And my philosophy, and you and I have talked a bunch, on these kinds of interviews and whatever. And my philosophy as a whole is if we can, focus on creating cash flow with as little debt as possible, and what I would call creating safe leverage, right? Like that's the way to create success long term, because it mitigates downside risks. And I think everybody that invests in the United States right now is taking on risks that they don't even realize that they're taking on. I talk about the fact that we need to align our money with our values and beliefs. My values and beliefs tell me right now that the U.S. is going into a bit of a winter cycle, if you want to call it that, right? Where things are going to be rough. And so what I think is going to happen is people that are buying high as asset prices are high, especially real estate, interest rates are high, inflation is still not under control, taxes are high, like all these things, all the indicators show that the housing market,
Oh, it has to. Yeah, it has to.
Something's got to give. I'm not saying it's going to break, but it's certainly going to bend and correct. And I think the numbers for me and the risk tolerance, it just didn't make any sense. Whereas I could come down here and, I found this opportunity. That's what we launched a private equity fund for, and we're raising a couple $1 million to do it. And we're, 1.2 million into the, 2.4 initial raise that we're doing. And so if anybody's interested, feel free to reach out. But what we're really doing is, we found this property that literally at the end of it all, between buying the land, buying the hotel that exists, and expanding and building out 48 villas on this property to create this amazing retreat center in the Caribbean Sea, on the North Shore of the Samana Peninsula in the Dominican Republic. We're talking about being able to build this thing right off the ocean. Like the ocean is right there for me. Like I'm like right on the beach basically. And like, we're talking like $4.5 million to be able to build a 48 unit project that we're going to be able to cash flow at US based pricing. And we're going to be able to do it all debt free. And so when we talk about the United States going into a recession, going into a depression, potentially going into any kind of economic correction, whenever you have debt and you've leveraged debt, you put an extra stressor on the equation. And down here, not only am I able to do it all debt free, but the cost of labor here, we've got on the property right now, we've got 11 full-time employees, and our total outlay for like wages for employees, our total outlay a month is $3,100. And so, because the cost of living down here and the economy is so low, and so like,
you can't be talking about slave labor on a
no
on a hot mic.
Yeah, no, bro, it's just the way it is. It's like people are doing it from all over the world, right? Like so, like literally, I just hired a guy. Check this out. I hired a guy from Spain, and he joined the team. He's bilingual. He's super good. I'm paying the dude $400 a month. And he's happy because the cost of living here is cheap.
Yeah,
and food is nothing. And like, it's just the scale. Now, will that be that way forever? Probably not. But for the next 7 to 10 years, here we go. You know what I mean? As it grows and scales. And I mean, I just hired a guy who's got his finance degree from Poland, and he's working with me full time. It's like $1,000 a month.
Dude,
like it's nuts.
What's crazy is, speaking to some of the things you said, the scariest thing about for me, and I'm still, I'm here in South Carolina, I'm still in the States. The scariest thing for me when it comes to the United States, and if you're someone out there listening, you don't have to know everything there is to know about finance, but I do just want to point out that we've never seen gold. We now have a new asset class with cryptocurrency, which are really digital assets. Bitcoin is at an all-time high. Gold is also at an all-time high. The stock
Mhm.
market is at an all-time high, and the housing market is at an all-time high, and the bond market is also going up, all simultaneously. That's literally never happened in history. And casinos don't work one way.
Mhm.
So right now we're kind of waiting to see what breaks, and we won't know who the loser is until that happens. And when it happens, it's not going to be one of those scenarios where you have a chance to get out necessarily. I think it's going to be like a mass liquidation event.
Yeah.
And it'll probably happen over the span of a week or 2 weeks, but it's going to be a very, very huge correction in one of these markets or multiple markets coming here pretty soon. I think the housing market crashes. You have every it's either one of the two things. It's either people around my age, I'm 26 going on 27 this year. It's either people my age will never be able to own a home if they don't already own one, or they are going to have the chance to own a home after this
Mhm.
correction.
Yeah.
But the housing market can't just keep going up.
No.
You have 3 bedroom, 2 baths at almost $400,000, almost $500,000.
Bro, makes no sense.
Something is broken, and what it is the currency system. So if you look at how you were talking about, well, I can hire all these people and it's only costing me like $3,100 a month, and the reason being is because what's the difference, the differential. So I'm a forex trader, right? I always
Mhm.
trade the foreign exchange market.
Mhm.
And for people out there, forex is, I know we had this big crazy multi-level marketing way. You do not join forex. It's something that you do, right? It's like
Totally.
you don't join infinite banking. It's something that you can do.
For sure.
So same thing here is that. So I was just trading in the foreign exchange market. I put in about four trades between last night and coming into the New York session. And I'm looking at these currencies. First of all, the volatility is off the charts right now.
Yeah.
Second thing is that we're seeing major currencies correct against minor currencies. So, like, if you're, long story short of how this looks, you're going to see major world powers have a decline while other countries have an increase. Actually, their currencies will start to turn around and increase because of the decline that we're seeing inside of the dollar. If you look at what's happening with BRICS,
Mm.
there's a mass immigration away from the dollar, but right now there's still an arbitrage opportunity that if you're somebody with capital and you go to another country, you still have dollar dominance because we have the world reserve currency. Now, when that
Really.
changes, Chris is going to be paying them folks $7,000 a month,
Maybe.
a month
Maybe.
instead of 3,000.
But we'll be earning more to go along with it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and on top of that too is you also are in a situation where you're going to be receiving a different national currency.
Mhm.
So even when that changes, that actually almost increases your wealth, because while the dollar is devaluing, your currency won't necessarily be increasing in value, but it won't devalue as slow as the dollar. And
Right.
that is my biggest fear, is that people are just so wrapped up in all this other stuff. They're
Mhm.
not paying attention. When people stop using the dollar, guys, globally, all the roosters come home to nest. So
Yeah.
like at some point in time, people are not going to just hold billions and billions of dollars on their books. They're going to send these dollars back, whether it's electronically or actually shipping them back to you on a plane or whatever.
Sure.
These dollars are going to come back, and when they come
Yeah.
back, imagine if everybody in your neighborhood right now is a millionaire. $1 million doesn't mean anything anymore, does it? Like
Nope.
if everybody was a millionaire, bread would be $100 a pop.
Yeah, for
Eggs,
sure.
everything has to increase because the money supply, well, the fake money supply has now been increased. And so that's Keynesian economics. They came up with this really great thing where you just scam everybody using counterfeit money, and that's what we're explaining when we talk about inflation and what's wrong with the currency system. So that in itself, man, I feel like I learned something from myself just speaking it through.
Haha.
If you're somebody that doesn't know anything, I mean, this is
Sure.
what Chris is saying and what I added to it. This is, I
Well,
mean, this is a
it's
gem.
it's important stuff. And I think what I teach everybody right now is the importance of deleveraging at this point in time. If you have a lot of debt, if you have consumer debt, if you have a lot of mortgage debt, if you have, like, right now, there's never been a more important time in the history of the United States than to deleverage and get rid of your debt, because what's happened is there's a lot going on in the world. Like, I don't know, especially our country with what's going on with the mortgage situation. Like, a lot of people don't realize that all of the mortgages are federally guaranteed by federal programs, right? And so what happens is, that's not an accident. You know, when people, if you have mortgage debt and then you default on that, you know, there's a lot of question on what's going to happen with those properties and the ownership of those properties and so on and so forth. And
Well, you're
so
describing 2007 going into 2008 with the mortgage-backed
probably
security.
probably worse, because now those mortgages are actually guaranteed by the federal government. They're insured and backed. And so if they get defaulted, they automatically fall into the hands of the government owning them. Now, traditionally speaking, the government's always turned those back over to an auction. You know, the banks have done that. But if the bank is no longer Chase Bank or Bank of America, and these companies that don't want to have the real estate on their books, but it now falls on Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and their government programs, and, you know, they say, hey, we want to hold on to these things. You know,
Is it just me, or is the United States slowly turning into a socialist slash well, I don't even want to call it
I don't
communism.
know, man.
I think it's fascism. It's the merger of state and corporate powers. Mussolini,
Huh.
that's how he described it, as fascism is the merger of state and corporate powers. I think we're seeing government and big business. They're so intertwined, kind of like how they had to separate church and state. This is the new church and state. It's Facebook and the government. It's YouTube and the government, so on and so forth. What we're seeing is, and you pointed out something really huge. I can't even move on to what I wanted to ask you next, and without going into it, what Chris just said basically is almost a form of communism, like the start of it. You have the government nationalizing private sectors, and whereby if the government can start to own these homes and these mortgages, right? I don't know. Do you follow the World Economic Forum?
A little bit. I honestly moved away from the United States so I could stop thinking about all that stuff.
Exactly, right. So you can start, but the
It's no
crazy thing,
longer my problem. It's your
yeah.
problem.
Well, this is more so a global effect though. With
Yeah,
the World Economic Forum,
sure.
their agenda is by 2030, you will
Yep.
own nothing and be happy.
Yeah.
Now, I don't
Well,
know how you own
I'm
any
gonna own
nothing
some
at
stuff.
all and still be happy, but this is the globalist agenda, and unfortunately, it's going to chase you outside the United States as well. It's going to impact everybody all around the globe. That's why we need to have a world currency and so on and so forth, because there is a mass adoption of slavery, if you would, through the monetary system
Mhm,
because of the lack of education.
mhm.
People are accepting it and actually introducing it to themselves. Like they want to bring this stuff on to themselves. And other
Yep.
people are like, wait, it's a cashless society and all this other stuff. Government owns everything. This isn't cool. Something's not right. But we don't have enough. That's why, like myself, Chris, and people like us, we're out here trying to sound the alarms and whistles and bells, because like, hey, something ain't right, man. Guys, something's not right when the government can
Mhm.
own your homes straight out. And then on top of that too, is I believe in this next crash, because so many banks will fail,
Yeah.
the Fed is going to be your bank. Like the Fed, you'll be connected directly to the Fed, and we will have a central bank digital currency. Whether they call it that, whether you
Yeah.
think of it that way, that doesn't matter. What's happening on the back end is
Yep.
a central bank digital currency.
Yep.
They've already released Fed now, so when you see Trump, oh, we'll never have that, and DeSantis and all these other people, you cannot ban or outlaw central bank digital currency. Why? Because you can't put something into law for people that don't fall under the judicial system. The
Right.
Fed is a private corporation, which is why I said fascism is the merger of state and corporate powers. The Fed isn't, I mean, if you even look at some of their meetings, they'll straight up tell the Congress, the reason why we didn't say this or we're not being forthcoming is because we feel like you guys just don't need to know.
Yeah.
We don't have to. Like
It's
there
kind of
is,
scary.
yeah,
It's really scary, and that's why I say right now it's important to deleverage, take control of your money, be prepared, and The challenge is that typically, the cost of deleveraging is giving up potential upside, right? You're deleveraging to take control of your assets, but when you take control of it, it comes at an opportunity cost, and you lose upside potential. And typically, you're doing that because you're willing to be opportunistic and to wait for the next cycle to start or whatever. But that's why, for me, that's why we're doing what we're doing. I moved my family down here. I got my wife and my 3 kids, man. I moved everybody down here. The kids are homeschooling. Got them out of the programming of the educational institution.
You might have just did the most powerful thing you could have done for them.
Yep. We're reconnecting them with nature. We bought 3 horses. We got a dog. They're living the beach life and taking the horses to the beach every single day. We're able to build this hotel and expand and create, what we're creating with no debt, right? And so even when things go down, the worst case scenario, we go into a 2-year depression, right? Like really bad. We're completely fine because we have no debt, and it costs peanuts.
It might be less travel. And even if we had like a COVID 2.0 or something, it might be less travel. You guys will take a hit, but
we need a 5%
because you're not over leveraged, you'll weather the storm.
And that's the thing. We need a 5 to 10% occupancy rate to break even.
That's man. You're good.
No problem.
What's the difference in a tax environment there versus being in the United States? Like, let's say if you try to do the same thing, and obviously not like in a California or New York or something, those people are just crazy. But let's say if you try to do this inside of a state within the United States that's not out of their mind yet, and far left, if you try to do this in the United States, what's the difference in a tax environment being there versus being here?
Well, so there's a couple of factors to that. So as an individual, there's still taxes here. It's not Puerto Rico. The tax advantages of moving to Puerto Rico are certainly better than moving here. That said, if you get residency here in the Dominican, there are a lot of advantages that come along. It's going to be better than the United States. It's not Puerto Rico, but it's good. The real benefit is on the business side, because, like I said, the government is very focused on tourism growth. And so what's happened is the government's created a program that gives tax exemptions to any tourism built with foreign investment dollars if you go into that program. And so we're talking 10-year exemption on all income derived from tourism-based businesses with US-based investment dollars. So think about that. That's incredible. You know what I mean?
Tax deferred.
No, it's a deduction. It's just tax eliminated. Now, the only thing with us,
that's awesome.
That's eliminated here. Now, because we're a private equity fund and the fund is based out of the United States, all money does flow back through the U.S. entity, which is the LLC in the fund. And so you're not getting out of taxes. I'm not trying to position this like you're getting out of taxes completely. I'm not even trying to get, I'm not the guy that is trying to just not pay my fair share or do anything of that nature. I do believe that there's a right way to go about paying the least amount of taxes possible. And there are different ways to use trusts and business formations and stuff of that nature on how you make your investments. Ironically, the reason I did it the way that we did it is because we wanted to give people the security of U.S. regulation and oversight, because I think a lot of people want that peace of mind, right? There's more of an accountability that comes along with that, even though you maybe give up some freedom. That freedom, giving up some of that freedom, the benefit is the regulatory oversight, so investors have more protections, right? For me, it was a downside, but it was better for the investors to have that protection, And then the other side is the way we structured the fund, we can use self-directed money. So anybody with a self-directed IRA, we can use self-directed IRA for the.
Yeah, you have to go through the regulations in order to be able to tap into different venture capitalists. Essentially, if I have a union or a pension fund or something like that, technically, if I believe in it, you set me down and you was like, hey man, look, I could get people, if I'm a pension fund manager, I could potentially allocate some funds over there. So you didn't do the wrong thing at all, man. It was a great, great way of going about doing that. One thing I'm looking at too is how you were saying, it kind of flows back to the United States. and you guys don't just do everything there. The there's I'm thinking in my head at least is that the advantage of you doing it that way is that on, like you said, on the business side, you
Yep.
receive a lot of different tax breaks, not so much necessarily on the personal side of things.
Right.
Um, do you have dual citizenship,
You
or is
can,
it?
if you invest $250,000, you can qualify. You have to go. There's a process, so it's not a straight path to dual citizenship. What you have to do is it's $250,000 of investment in real estate, so the fund investment qualifies for that. And then there's some legal fees on top of that to go through. Obviously, it's like $5,000 to $6,000 in legal fees to work with a local attorney that can start your residency process. And so then you get a residency establishment, and then after that, for a certain period of time, I think it's like 6 to 12 months. I don't remember. It's changed a couple times, and it's, I think, constant moving target. But when you've had residency long enough and you're in good standing, then you can qualify for a dual citizenship.
Okay, so dual citizenship isn't necessarily required though for you to be able to do this, and
No,
of
not at
course,
all.
like, and I asked that too because I know you got money flowing in one location, but it also flows back to the United States. So
Yeah,
you would have to have some kind of dual, like if you're being taxed here, right? You want some representation
sure.
here as
Yeah,
well as also having representation where you also live in terms
yeah.
of being able to vote on roads and stuff
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm.
And taxes to me, um, but before moving forward, like I'm all for paying taxes, but I think that it should be constitutional taxes,
Sure.
if anything, sales
Uh-huh.
tax,
Yeah.
something like that. The In America, we're being taxed maybe 4 to 5 times on our money, and that
Hmm.
to me is outright crazy, and it's outrageous, and it's going to
Yeah.
end up leading to some kind of a revolution. We're actually being taxed at 80 to 90%.
Yeah.
If you look at the total of taxes, and at some point in time, like, understand too, 80 to 90% does not include inflation taxes. Inflationary taxes is double what the CPI says it is. So whenever they come out and tell you a number, oh, inflation is here, no,
Mhm.
inflation's double that. Because
Yeah.
the CPI and how they measure it does not account for the things that people, that me, you, and everybody else know we need, right? It's not really looking at rents and stuff like that. It's looking at stuff that, like, they can even take stuff out of the basket that they're in, so they look at it against a basket of things that people would normally buy, like milk, bread,
Yeah.
so on and so forth. They'll take stuff in and out of there to make the numbers skewed to make it look how they want it to look, right? So if you
Hmm.
take, anybody knows this, if you take an ingredient out or if you add an ingredient, it changes the way something can taste.
Yep.
um, and that's exactly what they're doing when they're baking this cake of the CPI, aka the CP lie. They're just telling you, here's inflation, here's where it's at, but it's actually way higher than that. I think that honestly we need to stop paying taxes, because it bankrupts the government without. So it's kind of like if you give a drug addict more and more drugs, they just keep going until they overdose.
Sure.
The United States right now is on a path of overdosing,
Hmm.
whereby, to me, the future and where we're headed is hyperinflation, but at a slower rate. So
Yep.
the economy is going to slow down, inflation is still going to be high, so we'll have like dragflation, and slowly over time, the wealth will be eroded, and you won't have any middle class. You'll just have a very, very low class, not
Yep.
even low class. You'll have a very, very low class, and then you'll have a higher upper echelon class of people. And those upper echelon classes of people are, because they don't have any investment thesis.
Yep.
Uh, there's The poverty level will be so high that they're going to start doing stuff like what you're seeing, what you guys are seeing Chris do. They're not going to continue to invest their dollars inside of America. The laws are getting crazier. The taxes are crazy. Like I said, I'm all for taxes
Yeah.
in the proper sense. Right
It,
now, what we have is unconstitutional taxing.
it's insane. I mean, just I'll tell you this: being a business owner in the United States and now being a business owner in the Dominican Republic, what's really illuminated to me is the cost of doing business in the United States and the drag that the regulation expenses put on a business. So, like, we got a hotel here. The hotel is designed to be an eco experience and an adventure experience, and it's not entirely handicap accessible. I know I may get kicked back on that, but like, you know, that's not really our market. There's plenty of handicap places down the street that people can go stay. Like, to me, that's a decision as a business owner. If I don't want to make the place handicap accessible as a hotel, it means I'm losing the opportunity to serve a segment of the marketplace where I could earn money. You know what I mean? And so, like, here, they allow us to just do that. They allow the, like, there were elements of it. Don't get me wrong. There are elements of it when you get here and you're like, ooh, is this safe? Is that, like, according to like building code and like, you know, railings on things and like, you know, just the handicap ramps and stuff of that nature, where you're like, wow, it's really weird. Like, when you're used to having that your entire life, going to a place where they just don't prioritize
Well,
it.
is that not freedom though? I think what you're
It's
describing
freedom.
is freedom.
It's
Like
freedom.
affirmative action. Do you have to hire a certain amount of people, like women, certain
No,
people of color, and stuff
yeah, no,
like? I tell people all the time, like a lot of these things sound very, very good. Like you would think, oh, well, racism and blah, blah, blah. Like you got to have affirmative action. You got to hire women. You got to do this. You got to do that. What it's now created, because we've
yeah,
tried to keep everybody safe and we've
mm-hmm,
tried to make it fair for everybody, we've also simultaneously made it unfair, unsafe,
yep,
and we've eroded our own freedoms because of that.
yep,
Like the government is now voting on stuff and talking about stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with the government. Like if
for sure,
abortion has absolutely nothing to do with the government. That's a cultural, social
yep,
issue
yep,
that's dealt with on a private level. The government has nothing to do with the kind of medicines that your child takes.
totally,
Um, it can now schools and the school education system. The reason why they have to take those different shots and stuff is because it's government mandated, government
for sure.
controlled. The school system should not be government controlled. It's like
I know.
we're seeing more and more and more. Where if you look at society and what's happening, I mean, I was just thinking about it the other day. I'm like, man, there's more people that hate Trump than they hate the wars that we're in for no reason.
I think
Like,
it's pretty bad when we get to a place where people are voting for somebody not because they like that person, but because they hate the other person. Like,
yeah,
that's
I don't think people understand that when the lights go out and they go, like when the doors are closed, you like I try to get people to understand, like, you're an adult now. You have to think on a higher level, right? You're not a kid anymore.
yeah,
You realize these people are on the same team, right?
yeah,
Like that's not like this is
yeah. But
not,
you're
you know.
expecting a lot of people. Like, it's you know, it's critical thinking, man. Is I've been doing a lot of research into this, the concepts of like IQ levels and different types of intelligence and like critical thought patterns. And what I've come to realize, and this is not judgmental, I know it may come across as judgmental, but like, it's reality. It's people. It's like, um, well, it's fascinating. I'll share the story so it gives a little context so people don't judge me a ton. So it, when I got down here, one of the things that I had another hotel owner talk to me. He's like, "Hey, how are you adjusting? Like, whatever." And I'm like, "Oh, it's going great. Like, I'm loving it. It's a little frustrating with the communication gap. It's a little frustrating that it feels like the Haitian people, because there's a lot of Haitian people who are doing the work around here, and there's a lot of, you know, the local Dominican people, and they're all just amazing people. Like, they have such big hearts, and like, it's really, it feels like this is like, you know, we're here to make money, obviously, but there's also like a really great mission component to it. Like, we just had a retreat at our hotel that did free dental work for the entire community, you know, and so
It's purpose driven.
yeah, it's very purpose driven, which is amazing, right? Bright Islands Dentistry was just here and doing this big thing, and it was amazing work, you know. But like, he was telling me, I'll get to the point, is like, he was just saying the average IQ for a Dominican citizen is only 82. You need an 80 IQ to be able to join the US military. Like, that's the bare minimum that you're allowed to have. Just to put it into context, like from a critical thinking perspective, you know, and then so that shocked me, right? Like, that idea, I was like, I didn't believe it because I didn't even think it was possible. And so I didn't even know what an IQ was, right? Like, so I was like, I don't even know what a good IQ is or isn't at first. And then I saw that number and I was like, well, that's kind of ridiculous. And then I started doing research and I did an IQ test and I realized, like, I started diving deeper into my own process. And like, it's been fun, it's been a fun thing because I've learned, like, I got a fairly high IQ, and like, I've learned that my greatest gift is critical thinking, and like, deductive reasoning is actually how they break it down. Your level and ability for deductive reasoning, is going to determine how you see the world, because it's
So
your
you have
ability
a
to
process of
process.
elimination when you
It,
think. You don't just
right.
take what you've been told.
Right. And that's I look at it and it's like, okay, when I've used deductive reasoning for the United States and the direction it's going and where the opportunities and risks are in things that we're doing, then it makes all the sense in the world. If I use deductive reasoning about why IUL isn't all it's said it to be and whole life is the actual answer, it makes sense. But it's amazing. At first, this experiment for me was extremely frustrating, and then it was like freeing, because it's like, it helped me build empathy for the people that I get really frustrated about the IUL conversation that just don't get it. And I'm like, oh, like, I'm just like fortunate and blessed, like, because I did nothing to deserve this. Like, you do not do anything to earn your IQ. You can, like, they say you can maybe study to bump it up by maybe 10 to 15 points, or, there's a standard deviation, but like, there's nothing you can do. You're born with it. It's a gift. It's a blessing. It's a whatever. And so, like, it's hard to, like, be critical of people for not being able to have that level when they weren't born with that gift. And so now I'm using this and I'm like, oh, I just need to, like, try to reposition things differently and try to speak about it differently and make it make sense in different ways to different people. And it doesn't matter if it's IUL or if it's, investing for cash flow or aligning your money with your values and beliefs to create the life that you want to live. And like, for me, that's what this move is all about to me. It's just like, how do I create opportunity for other people? Because that's a core value of my mission. I want to elevate people and create opportunity for more people. And at the same time, how do I get money to work for me to create the life that I want to live? And I don't have to wait for it for 30 years. I could do it right now. And when I realized that I could actually pull all that together while elevating a community that wants to be involved with it, it just became the biggest no-brainer I've ever experienced in my life.
What's crazy about what you're talking about, though, is like what you just described to me is smart. Like, that's, to me, true intelligence. Like, I said this, and I know a lot of people, they were upset with me about it. I said a degree doesn't make you smart.
Oh, it's true.
And I said in addition to that, I said a degree doesn't make you smart. School teaches you nothing about money. The reason why, like, people like, oh, every life isn't all about money and da, 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 and I get it 100%. Here's the reason why I think that you have to understand money to actually be considered smart. Is because money is it's like kind of like oxygen, water, food.
Yeah.
It's like, if money stores economic value, right? So think about it. How do you know you're being equally compensated on your job? It's because you look at how much am I getting paid per hour, and how, and how hard am I working, and what do I offer this
Sure.
job? What's my value that I bring to the workplace? It stores your economic value. So if you're saying, so what you're telling me is, oh, well, I'm super smart because I got this piece of paper, but it doesn't really matter that I understand money. That's just your strong suit. It's not my strong suit. Well, that same mentality and attitude is why we've been put in the position that we're in now, is because school made money optional, and it made it to where grown adults don't actually question what's going on. So, like, taxes are going up, inflation is going up, all these terrible things are happening in the economy, and everybody's just like, well, we'll just leave it to the people that do that. They'll handle it. They got it. Well, they haven't been doing a good job. Like, if you keep taking your car to the mechanic, and every time you take it to the mechanic, you end up with more problems. Maybe it's time to change mechanics, and not just vote another mechanic in, but maybe you need to learn a little bit, right? Maybe you need to watch a YouTube video. Like, man, my mechanic just told me my oil change is going to be $800. Let me get a second opinion. Let me go look up on YouTube. Oh, wow, this is fairly simple. Oil change should maybe be about $50. But what we're doing is, we have politicians and people coming out, hey, Hey guys, we just wanted to just kind of put this out there. We're not actually asking your opinion. We just wanted to put it out there. $100 billion between Ukraine and Israel and whatever, and then a military industrial complex. Oh yeah, by the way, BlackRock also just got the new $400 billion deal to rebuild Ukraine. Nothing
What could be wrong with
suspicious
that?
about that. Nothing suspicious at all. Just you know, a mass. I can't use certain words, a mass extinction of people in certain areas, and then
Yeah.
we're seeing big private companies come
Yep.
in and be responsible for rebuilding these areas.
Yeah.
It sounds a little bit kind of like what happened to those Native Americans and how we got America. If you ask me,
We're going there.
if
Okay.
you ask me, that's just
Yeah.
kind of what it sounds
Yeah.
like. Whether we're talking about on the Ukraine front or we're talking about on the Israeli front,
Yeah.
something it's like right now I feel like you can't be smart when you don't question or you don't fail or you don't learn from experience. So school, like Robert Kiyosaki says all the time, school punishes you for failing and they teach you not to fail, not to cheat, so on and so forth. What we're doing right now, we're cheating. We're cheating the game. Like we're copying off each other's paper because you're telling me something that I need to know, and I'm telling you something that you might not be thinking about, and whatever the case. Like we're cheating in real life to win the game of life, to pass the test
Yeah.
of life, right? That's why we have mentors. That's why we have business partners, and we have people that are better than at taxes
Totally.
and different things than we are, and we utilize them and put them in place. Like you
Yeah.
said, you have a staff, you're paying them $3,100, and you're super excited about how cost efficient it is, while also being able to provide an opportunity because you know and understand, hey, these people are better in this role than I am. Um,
Yeah, man.
but you're smart enough to understand the opportunity, right?
Right.
And you understand money. So I think like we have to, right now we live inside the smartest, dumbest society. If you're talking about America, like how are we going down this crazy trajectory and this path that we're on, but everybody's so smart. Everybody's
Mhm.
college educated for the most part. We got this student loan debt is off the charts.
Yep.
It's the number one government asset. It's like we have to wake up and understand that what makes us smart is understanding the world around us. Money is the world around us. You're literally watching energy. Like I have some little $1 bills here, and like this is someone's economic energy store. This is energy, is what
Yep.
it really is. And
Yep.
if you look at it, everything comes back to energy. Gold, silver,
Yep.
even Bitcoin has to deal with energy. Oil, all these wars, anything, it's all about resources and more so energy. We are energy, so we need to refill our energy, whether it's eating food or getting something to drink. It's crazy, man. It takes my brain down this rabbit hole of like I'm still in America, so
Uh,
it's scary to when you're talking about like IQs and stuff like that. Like it's almost scary on a global scale, but especially back at home where it's like, how smart are you? Are you really that
well,
smart?
well,
Do we really think? Do we really know what we think we know? Like even with the IULs, and it was the perfect segue because I was going to ask you like, how do you utilize infinite banking abroad? Like, how does that affect you? With
well,
the
it's amazing.
IULs, a guy just said the other day, he said, I'm paying $120 a month. It's covering me and my family, and I'm going to be able to start taking out like $150,000 a year 10 years from now.
That's never gonna happen. Like
And
anybody
I'm
that
thinking in
believes
my
that
head,
is
like, I mean, at this point, I can't even. It's not about who sold that to you. It's not about any. It's not even about the IUL itself. It's like, man, you're just not smart. You're not using common
it's
sense. If
just
you get a basic calculator, sit down and ask yourself, how
it's
does $120 a month? I mean, you would
it's
have
a
to be
lack of
buying
deductive
lottery tickets.
reasoning. It's a lack of deductive reasoning. That's what it comes down to. And that's something I'm telling you, until I got into this whole world of the IQ test and stuff, I didn't realize like how much deductive reasoning plays into people's level of success or failure. And that is a huge part of it, And so, I think like anything else, yeah, college education doesn't make you smart. It shows that you have the ability to finish something and complete a task. And so it's not to devalue, your abilities or whatever, because there's plenty of people that, um, you know, have completed a degree. But you know, if it made you smart, that would be basically putting all degrees on the same, you know, same level.
Exactly. A
And
sociology
it
degree.
would mean that, like, you know, the Steve
Yeah.
Jobs of the world who don't finish college, they're obviously dumb, you know? Like, if that's the case. Like, so you got to look at it like from a more holistic view than that, and a more objective view than that, and look at like
Yeah,
freedom.
Mark Zuckerberg is dumb, man. He didn't finish
Yeah,
college.
yeah, exactly.
He's
You
dumb.
know,
The dumbest billionaire I've
but
ever seen.
you know, like it is what it is. Like you know, I think for me, what I think, whether you live in the United States or whether you live abroad, like, you know, I'm choosing to do with my family right now, and I don't know that I'm going to do this forever. It might be a season. It might be. We'll see how it plays out. You know what I mean? Like, but what I did know is I didn't want to look back and question whether I should have done it or not. Like, you know, like, and not have done it, not have tried, because I know what life looks like in the United States. I know, and I've done it, and I know that there's a lot of distraction. What I can say right now is that my focus is infinitely higher right now because I've eliminated, simply by removing myself from the United States and all the noise of the media and all the noise of the news and all the, like, just gotten off the social media platforms and not listening to it. Like, and I only focus on the social media, you know, that I find that brings value. You know, I produce content and I consume the content that I think is going to produce value. And I focus on the things that are going to have a direct impact in my life. And I'm going to take radical accountability for the results of my life and becoming who I need to be to live the life that I want to live. And I think that's where people get it wrong. I'm going to tell you, everybody watching this right now, you are where you are in life because of who you are in life. And that goes down to your level of understanding with money.
Man, don't say that. There's too much accountability right there, man. That's too much.
How
right
are you
there.
showing up in your life? If, like, I hear from too many people, I should be here. No, you shouldn't, because if you should be there, you would be there. Period. Like, if you should have had a result, if you should have more success, the answer is you're not, because you shouldn't be. And so your job is to find, where's the gap, where's the missing link, what have you not done, what you have a blind spot. Period. And like, that goes for me, that goes for Robert, that goes for everybody watching this. I'm not where I want to be. I have had those instances where I felt like I should be further ahead. And so rather than scapegoat it and blame the society and blame the system and blame all this stuff, I have to look internal and go, what was my part in that? What was my blind spot? Where was the gap for me? And, you know, I believe, and I talk about it in the 5 F's of life: faith, family, fitness, finance, and freedom. Everybody's after freedom. You don't have real freedom with a good relationship with God, your higher power, whatever it is to you. You don't have freedom without good relationship with your family and friends. You don't have freedom without good health and fitness. And you don't have freedom without understanding money as a tool to accomplish the life that you want to live. And the problem is, with all the first three, faith, family, finances, and fitness, like, or with fitness and like health, like, everybody knows that we have to take accountability. It's just kind of intuitive. Somehow with our money, we've been taught that you're too dumb to understand this thing, this most important thing for you. And I promise you, if you get good with your money, all the other things on that list
you're going to get smarter. You're going to get smarter.
You're going to be better. Smarter. You're going to be able to have
require you to learn so much more.
You're going to have money as a tool that's going to be able to help you buy better organic food, to have more time freedom to work out and be more active and healthy. You're going to be, you know, be able to spend more quality time with your family. You're going to be able to tithe more if that's a value to you. You're going to, all these things, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, money is a foundational thing, but yet somehow we all believe we got to take responsibility for these other areas, but somehow we're scared of money, or you've been taught that you're too dumb and you've bought into that thing, and you've been taught that you should give somebody else control of the results in your life in that area. And I would really strongly, emphatically suggest to you that
we don't understand that this is energy.
Yeah.
See, what you just described is how this is energy. So when you understand that the dollar or your currency, wherever you're located, is your energy, you understand the spirituality behind money. It's the love of money that is the root of all evil.
Yep.
And why? It makes perfect sense.
Yep.
How can you love this fake? How can you love this piece of paper, which is currency? It's not even real money. It's fake money. Yep. Real money is resources, right? What the currency can get you. So if you're in love with this, then you're missing out on what is the greater concept. What's behind this,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
And that's the
Yep.
economic energy, and that is spirituality. Is your
Yep.
spirit is energy in itself. So
I
yeah,
love it.
man. I wanted to I wanted to go. I mean, I think we pretty much touched on everything. The last thing I just ask you real quick is,
Yeah, man.
what do you think about IBC doing that abroad? Has it affected
Yeah.
you in any kind of way?
Yeah, man. I mean, look at it this way. The challenge with investing abroad is, well, first of all,
Well, using infinite banking in particular, how has that
well,
affected
yeah,
you?
but I'll get there. So the challenge with investing abroad is where the opportunity opens up for infinite banking on a greater level. Because in the United States, for instance, the banking system is extremely evolved. We would both argue probably too much so, right? And
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
so from that perspective, the more money is accessible and the more leverage is open up to the market, the more it drives asset prices up. Fair enough? Right. So here, I'm just going to use the Dominican because it's what I'm dealing with right now. But it goes for here. It goes for a lot of other nations that are like this. The banking and the leverage and the lendability is not nearly as prevalent as the United States, and so asset prices are held down, and so that creates more opportunity for more cash flow with less risk. But the challenge is you can't get loans for it. So utilizing infinite banking and saving and having your own banking alternative, like an infinite banking policy with a whole life, gives you
Oh.
capital that you can take advantage of opportunity that
Mm.
other people only wish they could do.
Oh, so
And that's look at where we
you
are.
have your own banking system inside of a almost bankless society where a lot of
Yep,
people around you don't have banking.
bro,
They don't have the accessibility. You
for
have
sure.
it, and you have it on a private level. Wow, that's
It
powerful.
is
That is powerful.
unbelievable,
That's powerful.
unbelievable.
Yeah, man. I
And
don't
when
want
you
to.
have access to capital in markets like this, that you are a freaking superhero.
Yes, I can imagine. I can imagine. And you have the mighty US dollar. So you're
Yeah,
really
yeah, it's
knocking you're
winning,
really
winning,
knocking
winning.
on doors. Yeah.
Totally.
Man, I'm super excited. Like I said, I don't want to keep you on too much longer, man. I'm
Well,
super excited
let's do
that you.
another interview after. Like we'll have to connect again. Let's do this again soon.
Yeah, man. No, this is this
Part
is
two.
this was great, man. I love, like I said, I always love speaking with you. I appreciate you coming back on for part 3. We definitely need to do a follow up and
Of course.
talk about some more stuff and give people update on what's going on. So I'm sure your people will see this on your platform or some way,
Yeah,
shape,
man.
or form, and
I'll share.
people see it on my platform. Before you go,
Yeah,
just real quick, dive a little bit into how does somebody go about investing into your fund? How do they find you? You know.
sure. Yeah. The best way to do it, I think, about the fund is just go to cashflowhacking.com. If you go to
Cashflowhacking.com.
cashflowhacking.com, that is the fund. I've got the pitch deck up there. We've got a good video. My wife and I go through it all. We've got all our portal for anybody that wants to kind of like do a soft opt in to the portal and learn more about what we have going on, the private placement memorandum and all the deal disclosures and all the legal mumbo jumbo jargon is there. I really encourage everybody to check that stuff out. That's the best way. People can email Chris at cashflowhacking.com if you have any questions and kind of want to go from there. But yeah, I mean it's pretty simple.
Yeah, man, I'm completely interested myself on a personal level, and I know other
Okay.
people seeing this will be interested as well. So, guys, this is a great opportunity. I'm like on a personal level, like I said, I'm extremely interested, and I'm looking to try to take advantage of this myself, guys. So, thank you, Chris, for coming on, guys.
No problem.
Always, until we catch you on the next video, better investments equals a better future, and we'll see you guys inside the next one.
See you guys.
I'ma get everything I came for, everything I made for.